One poll that caught our eye in our new Fox poll, Tom, is a view of how much time President Trump spends on issues, immigration, foreign policy, economy, and too much time is really low on the economy. And it seems like there is this, at least in this poll, and these respondents of registered voters, it's a little upside down.
No, not CNN or the Huffington Post, not even MeidasTouch, but Fox News' own poll is showing that 8% of independents, only 8% of independents think that Trump is spending enough time on the economy.
Under this program, the U.S. government will automatically create a tax-free investment account for every newborn American child, something that nobody really would have even thought of. Under this administration, we're going to leave every child with real assets and a shot at financial freedom.
Clearly, the administration sees those numbers out there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was the best event they'd done on the economy. I mean, he went all the way out to Iowa and, gave this speech, but with what was going on in the news out of Minneapolis, and then he posted to Truth Social that he's got an armada steaming toward Iran and threatening them. His economy speech ended up being like the fourth news story of the day. At least this was featured. That poll is really disturbing. And when you look at a poll like that, you got to dig into the internals and the partisan splits. Throw out the Democrats because they hate him. They'll never give him credit. Look at independents, look at Republicans, because that's what the Republican Party needs and what Trump needs for the midterms. And 78% of independents think that Trump isn't spending enough time on the economy. That's a huge number. And the economy is the number one issue by an order of magnitude. Inflation in the economy is 36%. The next closest thing is like 15%. So a lot of work for the administration to continue to do on the economic front.
Sean Hannity on Fox News couldn't help but give bad news about Trump. The news was the fact that independents think that he is not spending nearly enough time on the economy because he is not spending nearly enough time on the economy. Only 8% of independents thought it was enough. And it was very telling the other numbers as well. 47% thought that he was spending too much time on immigration, 37% too much time on foreign policy. So essentially, Trump's spending time in foreign wars and creating war on the street of America instead of focusing on the economy is bad all around for him. And the reason why it's so important for his poll numbers to go down is because the less popular he is with the American people, and certainly with independents, which swing elections, it will give leeway for those Republicans who, as Eric Swalwell just said, Congressman Swalwell, the way they talk about Trump behind their back is much different in front of the cameras. It gives them the courage, let's say, to actually stand up to Trump or vote in a way that he doesn't like. When they realize he has no longer any political capital or enough sway over the American people, or specifically over independents, perhaps these cracks can actually help bring the downfall of this Trump regime.
These guys are so lucky they're not under oath, because they would have to tell you what they really think of Trump. They call him crooked. They call him cruel. They call him a scumbag. I've heard you all say it. You're lucky you're not under Trump, but when the lights go on and the cameras are on, you're tiny, you're small, you shrink. Everyone remembers Matt Gaetz coming over here after a committee hearing. He would laugh at how stupid he thought Trump was. This is all a show. And Mr. Smith, you're just the latest act that they've brought in. But they can't erase what happened on January 6th because we saw it with our own eyes.
CNN's reporting about American consumer confidence helps give insight into that very low poll number around independence. Evidently, the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index was the lowest this January than it has been since 2014, surpassing even the low during the pandemic at a time when no one knew what was going to happen, when businesses were going to start again, if people were going to get fired. It is lower than even that. And evidently, according to Americans, things they are concerned about are healthcare costs. As we know, Trump and the Republicans in Congress allowed those tax subsidies to go down, tripling at times premiums, as well as wars abroad. This is creating instability and a lack of confidence among consumers in the economy.
Government funding, we're about to run out of money. What should be the red lines when it comes to ICE funding? When it comes to DHS, should there be policy or reduction in funding? What should be the options?
I mean, in terms of which deadlines line up with which goals, that's a tactical decision to be made. But my position has always been clear that ICE funding should be cut. We're seeing what they're doing with this reckless explosion in funding. And mind you, just so everybody knows, I want everybody to understand the cuts to your health care are what's paying for this. All that extra money that everybody's paying right now in their premiums, all that extra money that you're paying, it is paid for it is all of that extra money that the government and the ACA subsidies that was given to nearly $1 trillion in healthcare was taken out and given to ICE. So understand how these dots connect. You get screwed over to pay a bunch of thugs in the street that are shooting mothers in the face. That is what this administration's doing. That's what the Republican Party did.
AOC got it exactly right that the money that would have gone to American healthcare is instead paying for ICE. And according to that poll, Americans do not like it because they thought he had spending too much attention on immigration. So let's talk about the money in immigration. As we know, that big awful bill allocated $30 billion to ICE agents to do the things that we're seeing, to hire people, and even if they're not qualified, and give them bonuses. But $45 billion of that, in addition to the $30 billion, went to create ICE detention centers. So let's talk about this. It's a whole new for-profit stream for his oligarch friends, because he actually ran on a campaign of deporting people who were not here legally. I mean, we see them doing the exact opposite, taking people even from court hearings. But even if you took his campaign slogan, he's not even doing that. He's not deporting people. The big awful bill isn't planning on deporting people. They're not spending $45 billion to hire more judges in order to process people's immigration quicker in order to deport them. They are instead building facilities. You don't need facilities if you plan on deporting somebody. That's detaining them for something that is just a civil law. You don't have a consequence of going to prison for a typical immigration violation. And if you did, you would go through federal court and get time in a federal prison. You don't need immigration detention centers. So why did that bill create $45 billion for it? Americans realize the money for healthcare is instead going to a whole new for-profit detention center, is instead going to these ICE agents that are killing people on the streets, like Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And then never mind Venezuela. That blockade, the oil blockade, the naval blockade for the Venezuelan oil is still going on. And it is going on at the expense of American taxpayers. And that has to do with that poll about thinking Trump is spending too much time on foreign affairs. According to sources, how much we are spending on that, we have already spent $700 million on that blockade, $700 million, and it will probably get to $1 billion. Money that could instead be used for healthcare, money that could be used for schools, money that could be used to pave our roads, are instead going to do a naval blockade in Venezuela so that way Trump could sell the Venezuelan oil and park it in a Qatari bank, as Marco Rubio testified to that yesterday. 500 million of it that they initially sold, 300 million went to Venezuela. 200 million is still sitting in that Qatari bank, overseen by Trump, convicted of fraud, and Marco Rubio. American taxpayers are realizing where their money is going, and this is why they're unhappy.
New Meidas merch. Head to store.MeidasTouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.